into a new era, allowing band to count as a PE credit. And California is experiencing some of its worst weather in years, why forecasters call it a bomb cyclone. Also, fallout from a deadly shooting on a movie set in New Mexico reveals safety issues involving a member of the crew.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Former Ottawa County jailer is accused of stealing money from an inmate's account. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, prosecutors charge a former jailer with grand larceny and computer fraud. According to court documents, last month, Clifford DeMond used 2 other county sheriff employees' logins to reopen a released inmate's account. Clifford then used the released paid debit card to make purchases at a shoe store and at Walmart, spending more than $2,400. He is scheduled to appear in court November 1st. Pittsburgh High School band students are getting more recognition for the hard work they put in, thanks to a new move by the school to give students more extracurricular options. Due to the physical component of marching band, educators decided the activity qualifies as a PE credit. Now students will continue to exercise every day while getting a more flexible schedule to pursue their passions.
Maybe they want to get involved in a culinary course in their freshman year. Maybe they want to take vocal music as well. There are like so many great electives here at the high school. And so this allows our students to have a more flexible schedule.
And now students have the freedom to continue their musical education while still having the freedom to explore other options as well. Any bands performing Friday or Saturday morning sure had to deal with the rain, but is it behind us now? Michael Hayslip joins us with the first look at the forecast.
Not so much Friday, Saturday morning. How about the severe weather and the watches and warnings we had going into Sunday night? Now that we've been able to get past that, really didn't have a whole lot of local storm reports. We get a chance to get ready for a little October temperature headed into Halloween weekend. Now our high temperatures for the month of October still sitting at 75.5 degrees. That would be 8th all time, but we'll tie this in a ribbon here and notice by the time we get to the 7-day forecast, that average high for the next 7 days as we wrap up October, it is going to drastically fall. Here's a live look outside of Television City. We're still waiting for that sun to get through there, and it will this afternoon, but in the meantime, we're still as low as 49 right now in Iola, 54s in Miami, Joplin, and Carthage. We've got a nice little line right there, and it looks like our clubhouse leader is going to be Parsons and Cassville, chiming in at 55 degrees. There is the cloud cover, just has not receded from the south, and it's going to have to pull up to the north. So for those of you up to the north, that's where our cooler temperatures will be today, because it's certainly not going to help if anything pushes off to the east with everything that's out to the west. Now, speaking of the west, I know Tanya said here in just a little bit we're going to talk about the West Coast, and well, you talk about bomb cyclones and bombogenesis, and we'll talk about what that means as far as the barometer goes. I also want to point out that we can illustrate what the atmospheric river is and why it's giving torrential rainfall along with mudslides and massive flooding through California. You can even tell in the Pacific where it starts and wraps through. Back here in the 4 states, temperatures the low 60s today, so not a whole lot of movement. Remember, 75.5 is where we've been for the first 24 full days. Yeah, we're going to be about 14 degrees below that. Now, tomorrow, we get a little bit warmer. We'll throw up some 70s on the board for a Tuesday afternoon, even with the increased cloud cover. And then Wednesday, here we roll. It begins Wednesday morning, takes us into the afternoon hours with some thunderstorm activity. That's going to last till Thursday and cool us off as well as we'll wrap up October in the 60s. But Tanya, look at that Sunday panel. Mostly sunny skies for the little ones that want to get out and about in their costumes early. And even for the older ones that want to wait till about sunset, we're still talking about temperatures in the high 40s.
Yeah, well, not bad for at least no rain this weekend, so that'll be nice for
oh yeah, it's going to be a great
trick-or-treaters, for sure. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, California awoke to some of its worst weather in years. The bomb cyclone has already blasted the Pacific Northwest, killing 2 people. In Northern California, some streets are underwater or covered by mudslides in areas burned by summer wildfires. David Bignow takes us to Carmichael, California, just east of Sacramento.
It has been a monster storm, uprooting trees, flooding rivers in Northern California, and turning creeks into mud-filled rivers. In San Rafael, just north of San Francisco, there were more than 300 calls for help from fire or police. That's 4 times what it is normally. Across the region, officials say they may not know the full extent of the damage in those burn areas until later today.
With the rains and winds coming through, it's anyone's guess on what's going to occur.
Now look at this. That big truck was almost pushed over by strong winds on a bridge just north of San Francisco. And on the world-famous Golden Gate Bridge, gale force winds actually caused vibrations that created this eerie whistle that you could apparently hear for miles. Listen. Farther inland, a substantial landslide shut down this major highway in the same area as this summer's massive Dixie Fire that happened just north of Sacramento. Closer to Sacramento, in the town of Carmichael, there were roads underwater as of late Sunday. More than 5 inches of rain fell in California's state capital, breaking the previous record that was set back in 1880. Meanwhile, up in Washington state, this road east of Seattle was closed after a tree fell and crushed a vehicle, killing 2 people.
All I can think about right now are their families. Something like so random is just awful.
David Begnaud, CBS News.
Democrats are close to a long-awaited deal on President Biden's social spending agenda. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is planning a final vote on a bipartisan infrastructure bill as soon as Wednesday. Pelosi says Democrats should reach a deal on the president's $2 trillion Build Back Better plan by the end of the week. The measure is expected to include free universal pre-K, expanded Medicare, and at least 4 weeks of paid family leave, as well as environmental measures. But Democrats still can't agree on how to pay for it. The White House is floating a tax on billionaires, as well as a 15% corporate minimum tax to close any loopholes allowing companies to pay less. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, a 911 call raises questions about how a prop gun was handled on the film set last Friday's deadly shooting. And later, we're making tailgating chili in the Mr. Food Test kitchen. Fallout from a deadly shooting on a movie set in New Mexico reveals safety issues involving a member of the crew. Actor Alec Baldwin fired a prop gun on Thursday, killing cinematographer Halyna Hutchins and wounding the director. Omar Villafranca is in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
At a vigil in Los Angeles Sunday, film and television workers gathered to honor Halyna Hutchins. Hutchins' death is now under investigation by the Santa Fe County Sheriff. According to an affidavit, Assistant Director Dave Halls grabbed one of 3 prop guns set aside by the film's armorer, Hannah Gutierrez, who took her first lead armorer job earlier this year. When Halls handed the gun to actor Alec Baldwin, Halls allegedly shouted "cold gun," indicating there was no live round in the chamber. Baldwin later fired the gun, killing Halyna Hutchins and wounding the director, Joel Souza, who was standing behind her. And in a new affidavit released last night, Souza told investigators Baldwin was rehearsing a scene that involved drawing his weapon and pointing it towards the camera lens. A 911 call from Thursday raises questions about how the gun was handled on set, including by Assistant Director Halls.
It's his ID. He's supposed to check the guns. He's responsible.
Maggie Gall was a pyrotechnician on a shoot with Halls back in 2019. She says Hall's behavior on that set compelled her to file a complaint with her executive producers.
The first AD, they're not just steering the ship, they're also there to maintain a safe working environment.
Were there any safety concerns that you had when you were there?
No fire lanes, hard to access. Doors were blocked. There were no safety meetings.
While the investigation into the shooting continues, it's not clear if criminal charges will be filed, says New Mexico defense attorney Erlinda Johnson.
They have to demonstrate criminal negligence, that the person acted recklessly with wanton disregard for the safety of others.
We have repeatedly reached out to Halls and Gutierrez, but have not heard back, and we're expecting to learn more about this case at a Wednesday press conference. Omar Villafranca, CBS News, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
I have something that I want to share that I've never shared with you before. I think it's time I admit it.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
Seems like we've spent the first 24 days of October talking about how abnormally warm our afternoons have been, but here for the last about 6-7 days as we wrap up October, transition into November, things gonna actually feel like they should this time of year, and that means average high of 67 degrees. We are not even going to get up to 67 degrees for today. Still waiting on the clouds to break. We see right there over 7th range line a little peak of just a little blue, a little blue. We're headed in the right direction there, and we will have some before it's all said and done, as our humidity has been very, very comfortable at 77%. And barometer actually on the rise. You see a barometer on the rise, you go, hey, get out of here, cloud cover. Let's go. Get us up into the high 50s here. Tired of hanging on to that 49 that we have in Iola. 54 in Miami and in Carthage. Let's roll 55 in both Parsons and in Cassville. Now, go back if you were outside yesterday morning. My goodness, we're talking about anywhere from 20 to 24 degrees cooler right now than what we experienced over the weekend, and that will put us right smack dab among the biggest temperature changes in the entire United States right now. Starting to see it break just a little bit down there to the southeast. No precipitation. Will be on the dry side for not only today and tomorrow. That is not the case out on the West Coast. Let's go ahead and talk about what these terms all mean that everybody's been throwing around. Bomb cyclone, bombogenesis, atmospheric river. What's it all mean? Let's put it into colors, and it makes it a whole lot easier to explain. See that big low pressure system right there hanging off the Pacific Northwest coast? Well, a bomb cyclone means your millibars drop 24, your barometer dropped 24 millibars in 24 hours. Usually, we use the term bomb cyclone or bombogenesis when we're talking about a big nor'easter off the East Coast, but it can happen on the West Coast as well, and that's exactly what it did. And so what does it do? Well, it draws in all this moisture from the Pacific. So when you hear the term atmospheric river, well, what does that look like? Well, there it is. And so imagine that low pressure system up there draws in everything off the Pacific. You can even tell where it begins to start, right there. And then as it sweeps back around, the water moisture and the water vapor that we show illustrated on the map, it indicates it's not going to stop anytime soon. The torrential rains continue to make their way right off the coast of California. Of course, remember, you've got a mountain range right there that flips it back into snow, and then it rides the jet stream up toward Canada. Well, how come it doesn't affect our weather? Well, here's why. It follows the jet stream up there, and eventually it runs out of gas. All that moisture's hit the ground by then. And so what happens, you see where the moisture turns into purple, indicating the dry air? Well, then the jet stream sweeps down upon us. And by that point in time, there's nothing left in it but some cool Canadian air. And so that's why it has a tendency to stay on the other side of the Rockies. Speaking of a little warmth, and hopefully we can pick some up here in the next couple of hours, I'm still going to go highs in the low 60s this afternoon with those late afternoon, early evening sunny skies as well. Let's turn our attention to Wednesday, because that's when we're really going to pick up some action. Tuesday is going to be great. 70s, whether it be low or mid, not too bad. But then as we get started on Wednesday morning, we see the thunderstorm activity begin to roll in. Takes us all the way from Wednesday late morning into Thursday morning. So this will kind of be an all-day affair. The severe thunderstorm risk map does keep all the high wind and hail down by the Gulf Coast. But coming off of what we had just at the end of last week, look at this. We're talking about possibly another 2.5 to 3.5 inches, especially on that line that runs north and south through southeast Kansas. But we'll be done with it by Halloween. Kids are going to absolutely love getting out and about, whether it be on Saturday or Sunday, because not only will our temperatures be mild as they're bundled up in their costumes, but also too, moms and dads who are escorting your kids, going to be absolutely delightful out there. No need to worry about extra layers. And really no need to worry about any precipitation. Yeah, we've all done the Halloweening and with the umbrella, and we know what a mess that is. Not this year.
Especially with trick-or-treating being on a Sunday and school the next day, you're going to do it in the afternoon when it's a little bit
exactly.
cooler. Yeah, I mean a little bit warmer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4th state hero, Staff Sergeant Harold Gamble in the U.S. Army. The soldier from Ritchie, Missouri, joined the infantry and later the 1st Air Cavalry Divisions, fighting in Japan in World War II from 1943 to 1946, and then in Korea in 1950, and finally in the Vietnam War from 1966 to 1967. To Staff Sergeant Harold Gamble, we thank you, our 4th state hero. Today we're making one of Howard's favorites straight from his own kitchen. Howard shows us how to make his tailgating chili in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
I'm going to admit something right now that I don't think I've ever admitted before on TV. I love chili. I love it so much that even though National Chili Day isn't until February, I couldn't wait to share my new chili recipe with you. So if you're ready to find out what makes this one so great, let's not waste another second. What we do is saute some ground chuck along with Italian sausage in a heavy soup pot until no pink remains. Then we toss in a couple cans of chili beans that we've drained, along with some diced canned tomatoes, with the juice and all. Now, to give this lots of flavor, we add some chopped garlic, onion, and green pepper. Then we add a decent amount of beer, a bit of hot pepper sauce, and a boatload of spices. After giving it a good stir, we cover it and let it simmer until it thickens up and all the flavors come together. This is great on game day. And if there's a local chili cook-off that you really want to win, keep this one in mind. It's my secret weapon against all those other boring chilies. To get this winning recipe, I suggest you head over to our website and look for what I call my tailgating chili. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a great chili way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
Well, you can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4 state market prices.
Aha! Found it. Had to look, had to go up toward both the towers right there, but found it. We're going to get blue sky and sunshine this afternoon. It's been a long time of coming here after an overcast and cool morning. Still going to just keep us in the low 60s today. Remember, warm up tomorrow, and then middle of the week, Wednesday through Thursday, we're going to turn our attention to some good old-fashioned October thunderstorm activity.
Promising to see those hint of blue skies peeking through, though. What do we have coming up tonight at 5?
Well, at 5, we're going to take a closer look at our nation's growing supply shortages, starting with a global traffic jam of ships and ending with higher prices for consumers. What's behind the chain reaction it's causing? Plus, in Health Watch, new guidelines say antibiotics are now an accepted first line of treatment for most people with appendicitis. And it's red ribbon from many area schools as students learn about substance and violence abuse. So join us for those stories, a lot more. It's all coming up on KOAM News at 5.
All right, thank you, Dow. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.